Today, we become legends.
667, the most infamous damage number in all of Smite Pro League history. What does it mean, and why is it one of Smite's greatest internal memes of all time? That's what we'll talk about today. So to get to the root of this hilarious number, we have to go all the way back to week 9 of the Fall Split Season 2 Smite Pro League. Specifically, the set of Team Envious versus Team Eager. Yes, Envious has already made it into 2 of my story or videos, albeit with a very different roster this time. The original Envious roster that played under AFK Gaming and were dominant in the Pro League at the time consisted of some very famous faces you've probably heard of. Cyclone Spin still plays in the SPL today, albeit with a role switch. On this roster he was the solo laner, but still had that hyper carry tendency he's known for, as you can see by his Mercury solo pick in this set. Kiki So Cheeky is probably the least well known face on this roster, but was a solid mid laner at the time. Incon is of course a huge Smite content creator and had his heyday in the Pro League as well. Allied was a dominant ADC at the time, an all-round amazing guy that was taken from us too soon after his lengthy fight with cancer. I'm sure he's got 2.5 attack speed in heaven now. Rest in peace, Allied, you deserve it. But the final member of this Envious roster is of course Weaken, an extremely popular content creator and streamer that, believe it or not, was a very strong SPL player at this time in Season 2. He is also the subject of this video. On the 15th of October 2015, this Envious roster squared up to the Eager Boys. This was a highly anticipated match as it was so close to Worlds, and these were the top 2 NA teams at the time by a wide margin. What I'm saying is, a lot was on the line for this match.
We'll take a look at their standings as Envy stands on top of the North American scene here with a whole slew of wins, 20 plus, not quite there yet like Epsilon, but they're striving for it.
And Envy needs 1 win here to secure first seed for North America. Epsilon was able to do that. Right now, though, Envy versus Eager. Envy has been the team really running North America all Season 2, ever since the spring finals.
The picks and bans phase was interesting to say the least. After a few bans of top gods at the time, Envious instalocks Odin as their first pick. At this point, Eager probably knows it's going to jungle since Cyclone Spin tends more towards hyper carries from solo and Weaken more towards initiating bruisers from the jungle, but it could have still gone to Incon in the support role. Odin support was much more popular back in Season 2 than it is now. To be clear, Odin was not a top priority pick at the time, with a bad win rate and low pick ban rates. He's also more of a counter pick, so first picking him is an interesting choice for Envy already. But after rounding out the rest of their draft and Eager picking Hell into Odin for some reason, the first match of this set got underway. Despite being relatively active in the match, even landing a few cages, after 7 minutes of gameplay, Weaken's Odin was sitting at a clean 144 player damage. To be fair to him, their mid laner in Afro also had a pretty bad damage output, and Kepri support was the second top damage on their entire team, but 144 damage is literally 1 Odin 3 in the early game and less than 1 Bird Bomb at level 2. It was clear even at 7 minutes in that Weaken was not having his best performance of the year on this Odin. He was building damage too, so it's not like he went full tank to be a pure initiator for the team. After an intense mid lane fight at around 10 minutes in, Weaken more than doubles his damage to an astronomical 380. Keep in mind that this team was dominating the SPL at the time with an over 80% win rate, and Weaken was a major part of that success. After a stolen Gold Fury, Envious scatter in this 11-minute teamfight, and Weaken just can't find a way in. He sits on the side and tries to blink in after the fact, but gets immediately deleted before doing any additional player damage. He still sits at 380. At this point, it's clearly a losing game for Envious, and Weaken wasn't the only problem in this game. 4 of the top 5 player damages were from Eager, and even their support was out-damaging 3 of Envious's players at this moment. After decidedly losing a fight at their back happies, the Envious roster is looking pretty downtrodden, but here comes Weaken with a truly impressive Bird Bomb onto 4 of Eager's players. But of course, it's impressive not because he hit all 4, but because he somehow threaded the needle and managed to miss every single player. However, in that teamfight, Weaken will get the final bit of player damage he will deal for a further 8 minutes. Like a scuffed Goku, Weaken has reached his final form, but will not be going any further beyond 667 damage for a further 8 minutes.
Weaken though,
I mean, look
667 damage. Incon has 4,700. Bird Bomb does a lot. He has not been connecting his abilities from the looks of it.
Well, so far, every single Gungear's Might, with the exception of that last fight that I've seen, has just missed.
We are 20 minutes in, and Weaken has 667 damage on Odin.
I mean, this is a player that, you know, this just goes to show you, everybody's got bad games. I mean, Weaken has been a fantastic asset for Envy, but in this game, he has done absolutely nothing.
Honestly, having this much damage at 14 minutes into a pro match is impressive, but what's even more impressive is maintaining that number for 8 more minutes. Yes, we can somehow, someway manage to hit 0 abilities or basic attacks in the 8 minutes of the game following that 14-minute teamfight. At this point, I feel like he somehow knew he'd become a meme legend in the Smite community and just wanted to embrace it, because damn is that impressive. He did this mostly by sitting on the edges of fights and not really initiating at all, which was the reason this Odin was picked in the first place.
Cyclone got a kill, but Odin wasn't able to impact enough to follow up off of that kill.
The Odin was drafted to really control the early game for Envy, to allow the Aphrodite and the Mercury to get to late game. I feel like Envy has drafted a little bit too much into the late game, where the rest of their gods just aren't that effective to help benefit the Odin, and so far, they've been suffering from it. Eager taking a nice advantage from that, recognizing that they have the early game power and mystical males. They're using that direct matchup and allowing Dare to Care to make big plays.
But it was a combination of this passive play and his uncanny ability to bird bomb into a whole team and somehow miss literally everyone every time. I feel like when people discuss 667, they assume it was a short game, or at the very least we can hit one ability per 5 minutes or something, but it's more crazy that he managed to not hit a single ability or basic in 8 whole minutes. He wasn't even feeding per se. At 22 minutes in, he only had 2 deaths. He just simply wasn't participating in teamfights. You could argue he would have died a lot more if he didn't have Raven Shield, Aphrodite Lynx, and Kepriel, but the fact remains, he wasn't feeding. He just wasn't even there. Weekend could have DC'd from 14 to 22 minutes in this game, and nothing would have changed for Envy. He finally gets some relief in this 22-minute teamfight at their tier 2 tower though, as once again he more than doubles his damage to a whopping 1,428. Still more than 3 times less than their Kepri with 2 items though, so he's got a bit of a hill to climb here. Unfortunately, Weekend dies in that engagement, and the one teamfight Envy actually wins cleanly on this Phoenix defense, Weekend was dead for, and so remains festering at the bottom of the player damage charts. After a risky Fire Giant pull by Envy, they get decimated in the ensuing fight, trading 3 for just Eager's support. But Weekend picked up yet another 700 damage in that fight, bringing his total to
Over 9,000!
Sorry, that would put him above Kepri, we can't be having that, I mean over 2,000. After a few more bad teamfights at their Phoenix, Envy eventually falls in a clean game by Eager to take the match. While Weekend made up a lot of that damage diff in the final 10 minutes or so, ending on around 5,000, the meme of 667 will forever live on in the Smite community, and even 5,000 damage in a 30+ minute pro match, that's not it, chief. In fairness to Weekend though, he took it in good faith and ran with the meme, even making his own reaction video to the full match, basically self-roasting the entire time. It's worth a watch if you guys want some more insight on his thought process behind the legendary 667 match. Catch you guys later. Peace out, you nerds.
Wait till you see the... No. Look at the top of his head.